Hello, everybody, and thank you for having me today. It's a great pleasure to speak to you all. And unfortunately, in English, my Croatian is not so great. So thank you for being patient with me here. So I'll share my screen and maybe take you through our presentation. So the intention of today was to really talk about the key highlights in the water industry that we see at the moment. But maybe the best place to start is to just give you a brief introduction to Grohe and who we are as an organization. So we have been part of the Lixil Corporation now since 2014 and the proud founding sponsors of the World Architecture Festival since its conception a good number of years ago. And as a sanitary ware brand, we're now positioned as Europe's largest manufacturer. We have a headquarter in Düsseldorf, and we have 3 factories remaining still in Germany, 1 in Thailand and 1 also in Portugal. And we're touching now over 130 countries around the world as an organization. When it comes to us as an organization, we really value these key brand values, which are quality, technology, design, and sustainability. And all of which you can see on the bottom of the screen here have proved to either win awards or notification in recent times. And certainly sustainability is a key part of our initiatives that we run at the moment, and some of the topics that we will discuss today will go hand in hand with that, and we'll close with a wonderful reference to that at the end of the presentation itself. So what we wanted to look at today were really 3 topics. We want to look at new living spaces and how we're now using maybe our homes. Obviously, during COVID times, we've had slightly different days with kids homeschooling and so on. So an interesting point to look at there. We want to show you our 3D Icon collection, which is a revolutionary technology of 3D printing faucets as opposed to the conventional manufacturing methods. And maybe we start off with a really important topic of hygiene, which is something that we've been having, of course, in our day-to-day lives now very regularly at the moment. So what we see at the moment within Grohe certainly is there's obviously an increasing awareness of hygiene within the consumer sector. And importantly, when it comes to working in specification with architects and designers, is that it's very high on the agenda. I was just in a call now with an architect asking me to put some proposals together for touchless products to go in a new project, and even for a bathroom within a hotel. So it's touching different areas than perhaps it's ever touched before. And what's most important is the expectation of everyday consumers is much, much higher now, because of course it's really affecting all of our lives. And so when it comes to these products, of course, we need to have the right technologies in place. So in terms of the products and maybe some of the key important parts, which is preventing the growth and spread of germs, the good thing to know is that a lot of the technologies we had in place already did that. For instance, if you think about the coatings and glazings that we have on our ceramics, a lot of those are designed to have a higher surface tension, such that when water passes across it, it moves in more like a mercury movement. So it's not like your ceramic will have bad bacteria harboring on the surface of the products themselves. And then when we look at things like our faucets, a lot of coppers and the alloys and such as the sort of brass within that particular situation have antimicrobial properties intrinsic with the materials themselves. So what you find is that they destroy microorganisms, and they're commonly materials that are used within faucets in the manufacturing process that we know today. We are lucky to have hero products at Grohe, and the Sensi Arena is one of those when it comes to hygiene. This particular unit has a number of different technologies, but one of the more interesting ones, certainly on this topic, is the plasma cluster feature, which essentially emits positive and negative ions into the space of a bathroom to kill airborne bacteria on contact, which is an incredible development of the product to be active and promoting hygiene within the space on a constant basis. But maybe some of the other features that we could look at, which are the hydrophobic coatings we mentioned there, altering the surface tension of the product, so you shouldn't need to clean it as often as you would a normal WC. We have an antibacterial spray arm, so at the back of the product, this is a shower toilet, when it projects, once it's been used, it goes back into the system to be disinfected and ready for the next user. We have fitted these products with a powerful Vortex Flush, which take the waste away with more effectiveness. How that works is it uses 3 entry points of water, as opposed to having lots of water use the force of water that's generated from this particular vortex. Of course, they're rimless pans, so you have no dead spaces for bad bacteria to grow into, and it's limited contact. These products can be connected to your smartphone. As you approach them, the lid will lift automatically. So there really is very little contact points when it comes to touching the unit itself. In the kitchen spaces, we also have products such as our kitchen taps, which have additional hygienic features, such as the easy touch taps, which you can touch on with the side of your arm. Here, of course, you're not touching the lever or the spout and not contaminating that. And even as well to foot control taps, which essentially do a similar thing in a different way, but you can operate the tap just by the slight touch of your foot under the kitchen cabinet itself. But when it comes to water and its purity, a water filter tap, of course, means that when we drink water from our tap, of course, that's really, really important to have, filtered water delivered to you to promote that sort of sustainable and wellness message that comes with that particular topic. But in this time, and like I mentioned earlier, touchless and super popular for projects. And there's 2 technologies, infrared and capacitive sensors. So a capacitive sensor works in the way of basically proximity. So if you're close to the tap, you can move your hand around it, and of course it will operate the tap. Whereas at Grohe, we use the infrared technologies, and you can see them just slightly positioned here at the bottom of the body of the tap itself. Those are operated by waving your hand in front of them. And of course, when you wave your hand in front of the faucet, it will operate. So not only does this mean that we don't have to touch the body of the tap, but also as well works in a very sustainable way with water, because you're only using the water that you need, as opposed to having the tap constantly running. And often we'll find that with the infrared technology, for sure, it's very, very clear for the customer how they should use that particular product. And it extends not just to faucets, but of course to the WC flushing systems, and maybe even the urinal flushing systems as well too. Like I said here, the real aim with these products is to right. So the real reason is to minimize touch, is to look at the ease of cleaning of these products, and to minimize cross-contamination, which of course within public spaces now is incredibly important to prevent the development of diseases and so on. What we wanted to share with you is a wonderful reference case study project as well here, which is one we delivered in recent times, which is the Tottenham Hotspur Football Stadium in London. Of course, they've just opened themselves back up to the fans, which is fantastic. And in this particular project, we worked with the architect Populous to supply a number of different products. WC frames and flush plates, basin mixers, showers, and bath mixers for some of the changing facilities in the project itself. But of course, the touchless products became a really important part of it as well too. And you can see on screen some of the key features that came in terms of thermal disinfection, cleaning mode functions that really support a hygienic use. And interestingly as well too, we're proud to say that this was voted as, I think, Europe's most sustainable stadium, which again is a fantastic achievement by the project. But of course, we were glad to support that with the water saving initiatives that we were able to incorporate here. When we think about new living spaces, and I speak from personal experience homeschooling my children during lockdown here in the UK, of course, it was a difficult time for us all. And what we, I think, saw was a complete change of the space and how we used it. So we went away from having boundaries as much as we've had in the past, I guess. And kitchen spaces became spaces for sharing, for having dinner with our families, because of course all of the restaurants were closed. And the bathroom became this wellness retreat, when you could escape the homeschooling for 20 minutes at the end of the day to have a nice bath or a shower to yourself. But of course, what's needed within these spaces, products to support that. So if we think specifically about kitchens, of course, Grohe offers many kitchen mixers, whether it's a function of a spray arm, or it could be the case of a water system here to, again, like I said, promote the wellness, but also more importantly, the sustainable message of not using bottled water. And in the kitchen, we also launched new products around smart control, which is touch technology that we had within our bathroom areas already, that we've now just carried over into this space as well too. And I think you can agree is a very interesting architectural product in terms of its position within one of your projects maybe. In terms of the bathroom, we had a new collection launched last month, our Allure collection, which is in our sort of more luxury segment of spa. And here, of course, what's really important is very slick design, very appealing to the end consumer, and of course a number of different finishes that really fit well with this sort of wellness escape. And we can see here the sort of blurred lines between the bathroom and the bedroom itself, which really become a space for you to take some time for yourself at the end of the day. But maybe it could be the case in the future we incorporate maybe gymnasiums within our own homes, such that we have our own workout space. I know a lot of the gyms in the UK were closed during this lockdown period, but of course, still need to take time for ourselves and really explore what we can do in our own homes. So here you can see our Essence collection in our brushed hard graphite finish, which is one of the many PVD finishes we offer for projects. And a really fully considered approach when it comes to projects. And then just finally, we want to look at 3D printing. And this has been a really disruptive technology for the industry, because of course it changes the way we work in projects and how we manufacture products. So you can see on screen here just some of the key benefits that 3D printing throws up for a manufacturer such as ourselves. It's our obligation as a manufacturer to always push boundaries in technology. And of course, this was one that we've been tracking for a long time when it came to the development of products and prototyping those. And the reason we really have now explored it with physical product is because it's a more sustainable approach to making product. There's less waste of resources with this because you print what you need as opposed to discard what you don't. There's challenges that come with it, of course, which are centered around the altered supply chain of projects, because it's not the same process of a foundry and then the production line of products, and then of course then the delivery of those to the customers. It changes quite dramatically, and where we see this technology moving in the future, of course, is quick and local mobilization of products, because of course if we create a 3D file of a product, that could be printed more local to the project site, which of course again adjusts the carbon footprint that we carry when it comes to the delivery of those goods. So it really is an exciting avenue for us to be exploring. To maybe touch on some of the details that we use here at Grohe. So of course, when you're thinking about printing a product, for us, metal is something we use obviously within most manufacturing processes, and for some of the sort of hygienic reasons that we mentioned earlier. But of course, it has a strength and thermal property that comes with it that's really integral to a product such as this. We use the power bed fusion technology, which is, I think, one of 3 different 3D printing processes, and quite specifically the sintering process, which essentially passes the layers the metal one layer upon each other with a sort of a pressure and a heat, so that you get this form created at the end. And it allows for a slightly lighter product than perhaps this melting process, which will melt layer upon layer, which is a really heavy product that might be used in maybe the automotive or perhaps even the aerospace industry, which is a much stricter requirement there too. So in terms of the different metals that we can use, you'll see some flashing on the screen now, and in particular at Grohe we use a stainless steel. But what's important with what we make is that it's a modified stainless steel. The modified stainless steel allows us to really control the chemical reactions that take place in the printing process. And that means that we get a better product at the end of the print. So there's no imperfections in the surface. We can essentially cut it off of the table once it's finished, and you have less waste and less and reduced costs as a consequence of that. So in terms of the process, of course, we have a 3D file of the product that we create, and we laser scan that component. We then melt layer upon layer of the metal to create the structure of the product. That is then CNC milled from its base, and then in the very final process, it's grinded by hand and finished by hand by our craftsmen in the factory. So you go from this digital age technology all the way through to this fine craftsmanship finish. And what I think is important now is to show you what that is. So this was one of our products, Atrio, which is still in the existing line at Grohe. And in order to show the possibility, we needed to put it in some context. So here you can now see it reimagined with 3D printing. So of course, less material is used and more interesting shapes are created as a consequence of this. And you can see again here just how dramatic that product can change. What's a wonderful feature with these products is that you can engineer the waterways within the 3D printing process. So you don't have your conventional hoses within the product itself, and there's no restrictions on how you design that. So of course you can then tailor what we say is water saving by design. You can engineer the waterways in order to incorporate that. We did also the same process with another one of our lines, Le Brilliant, and this one here you can see is quite a heavy product. And with this process, we were able to really create a lot of negative space within the product itself. So the water actually passes down the side of the product and then up to the spout where it's mixed before it's dispensed into a basin itself. But when you see this in function, it sort of suspends belief. You don't know how it works. It's quite crazy, really, in some ways. And for us, this is just the beginning, to really understand these technologies and how we work with them in the future. And this was a wonderful case study project that we supplied recently, the Under restaurant in Norway. It's a Michelin star restaurant developed by the architectural firm Snoeta. And I think it's Europe's first underwater restaurant, which of course is no mean feat in itself. And of course, for this project and for the next one, we had to actually create a customized solution for the client because they wanted a water-saving product and a hygienic product. So we have also a touchless operation for these faucets in the wall-mounted version, as you can see here. And this was a project by in Sinatra Passagius in Vilnius in Lithuania that we also supplied. It was part of a multi-purpose development with shops, retail, bars, restaurants. Really, really cool project to have supplied. And just finally, we wanted to look at some new variants of products that we've brought to the market in recent times, and these are our cradle to cradle products. So I said at the very start, sustainability is one of our key brand values, and of course we're guided by a number of initiatives within our organization. But this one is really a very, very interesting step forward for us. So essentially, for those of you who don't know what Cradle to Cradle is, this could be a project or it could be a product itself. And the idea is that, of course, a product normally follows the take, make and waste process, where at the end of its life cycle, it's completely discarded and nobody ever sees it again. However, we've developed 4 products that achieve gold certification by Cradle to Cradle, which is a very tough objective to achieve. And at the end of the life cycle of these products, they can be taken back, broken down and reused for other projects. It's a completely circular process. And in that, of course, the great thing is that we're not looking at using more resources. And we know within the world now today, we have very limited resources. And rather than just launch this with luxury products, we focused right on the core of our project's business. So you have our Eurosmart bow, kitchen and basin mixers for the bathroom, and then a shower rail set that really are 4 of our most popular core lines within the project category. And that hope there is to touch more and more projects, and of course in the future to have more and more products. And how we're going to bring those to you as an architect and designer is through our GrowX platform. And GrowX is just been launched only a couple of months ago, and really it's a source of inspiration for architects and designers. So we have 360 living spaces, you can see in the top left, and they are really designed for, experience for the customer, to see the product and situation, to see how it combines with different materials. And you can take a walk through and really see the shower space, the bathing space, and so on. We then have the area, what we call Wow of the Week, where we celebrate the architects and designers that we work with, and hopefully one day we could showcase one of your projects. This was a project by Stilt Trampoline in the Nordic region called Paternoster, which was a wonderful conversion of a lighthouse to a hotel. And we had a fantastic interview with the architect that led that particular project. We have educational programs, like you see in the bottom right. This one's on water saving, but we also do them on hygiene and 3D printing, and we have one on the cradle to cradle topic coming as well too. And those are, CPD programs for architects, designers from an educational perspective. And then, of course, we have the how-to videos, which is really important because, of course, making the product is one thing, but then putting it into the project is another. So really to support the correct installation of the project itself. So I'm delighted to have shared this with you today, and very grateful of your time. And yeah, of course, if you have questions, I'm happy to answer them. And that's me done. So thank you very much.